So please tell me. So how'd you end up at Silverton Pride of all places?
I was invited by MJ.
Yeah.
Apparently, she had stalked me online or something. Uh, I think it was mainly because of the work that I do.
Yeah.
I'm not just queen, that I actually do quite a bit of volunteerism for the trans community. And I think that's why she contacted me. I happen to be a very good entertainer, but uh, my activism is my joy.
And I appreciate that so much because that's the sort of activism that you need out there right now with all of the things that are going on. And it's just to have a space where people can see themselves represented and know that they have a safe space that they can go along is huge.
My message is very, very simple.
Yeah.
I'm 62, almost 63 years of age, and I've lived a long, happy life as a trans woman. I transitioned over 40 years ago. So I became a housewife and a business owner and created a career and a life. Little did I know how useful that would become when legislation started coming down against trans people. Here I was all these years, a regular person, not anything that the conservatives say I am. And I stepped forward. I stepped out of my anonymity and said, here I am.
And I love that, right? Because I think it's so important to feel, because people need to understand that I'm kind of at a loss for words. I apologize. It hasn't happened in quite some time.
It's okay.
Because I'm fascinated by that aspect, right? Because what you said is actually very true. What you see as a portrayal in the media is not representative of people in general.
No,
and
it's not.
It's a shame that it's that way. It's one of the reasons I started this podcast is because I got tired of the narrative that you see out there regarding people, because people are not what you think or what you see on TV. It's not accurate.
It's true. Well, television is not reality,
right?
Even if they say it's reality TV. So in the real world, which is where I live, I have a wonderful existence. My husband and I built a business. I've achieved the American dream. We own our home. We retired to the coast. Life could not be better. And I want trans people to know that, mainly their parents and the kids too. You can have a long, successful, happy life. Don't be afraid. Don't listen to the naysayers. I'm living proof that you can do it. You can have your own version of it. Doesn't have to be mine. But I'm here representing so that people can see that it's possible.
So how did you get into the competition part and begin with?
You mean the pageant?
Yeah.
Well, I was looking for opportunities for publicity because media pays attention to pretty women in crowns and sashes. I do not know why, but they do.
It's weird.
It's a weird thing. But the thing is, I was literally in the midst of discovering the punitive legislation in the media when I saw this little girl in Conway, Arkansas, 8 years old, Little Miss World Infinity or something, some crazy name. And she had a little plastic tiara on her head, and there was a news reporter with a microphone sitting in her living room, hanging on her every word. Oh, I'm just so excited. And yes, she had every right to be. But the thing is, I thought maybe if I go online, there'll be something like that because I still look pretty good. I can still twirl. I can wear a gown and I can interview. So why not try? And I found Trans USA Pageantry, which has only been around for about 5 years. And I applied and they accepted me and I became Miss Trans Oregon last year, which was an invitation to volunteerism. And I traveled the state. Most poignant thing were mothers of trans kids coming up and hugging me, crying, thanking me for making their path of their child easier.
Because it's so important for people who are trans to see people who are successful.
Oh, we hide.
Yeah.
And
it's sad that we have to be that way. Like one of the things that I'll never understand about our society is why we can't be accepting of people as their authentic selves.
That's the thing that was so impactful when I testified in Arkansas before the legislature. It was standing room only. The community knew me as just me, because I had built a life, built a business. I was on television. I taught generations of children how to skate. There were people in that room who I could name, who knew me, but did not know all about me. And I came out to the entire state of Arkansas. I came out to the entire figure skating community. And I came out to everyone I knew in one day, trying to garner the ear of the governor during the legislative session. And I got it. And he vetoed the legislation. But I found, doggone it, the dastardly doings of the Republican Party. They let Asa Hutchinson veto the bill so that he would save face. But the Senate overrode within closed session within 24 hours, and the fix was in. So it came to Judge Moody at the Third Circuit. And Leslie Rutledge, Attorney General of the state of Arkansas, brought junk science and cautionary tales to the judge's bench, and he threw her out. Said, you come back prepared or I will dismiss you on the day. So it took months, I think about 8 months.
Yeah.
I would like to give advice to your listeners. Do not mess with a hairdresser. They know everybody. And if they don't know someone, they know someone who does.
Yeah.
Turns out we had a client who was the retired executive assistant of Judge Moody of the Third Circuit. I had my finger on the pulse of the whole thing the whole time. And when he brought the decision forward, unconstitutional, prejudicial, separated out of class, and he dismissed with prejudice, which means the state of Arkansas can no longer challenge health care for trans youth as long as Arkansas exists. And we did it with a full ride Republican House and Senate, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders sitting in the governor's chair.
And
I'm very proud of that.
100%. And I just like the piece where I shake my head is how it got to that point in the first place.
Yes, but I saw it happen.
Yeah.
They brought one from California, this man who regretted transitioning, and they paraded him up in front of the panel. They gave 45 minutes to the presentation, and they gave 3 minutes to each person who spoke against it.
Of course they did.
And when I testified against the North Carolina bathroom bill, taking dignity away from people using a public restroom of all things, they flipped the script. I was actually the third person to sign in that morning. They ran the sheets backwards, and they ran the first sheet backwards, so that the very first person that signed in at 7 in the morning when the doors opened did not testify until 10 minutes to 5 in the afternoon. And you want to know why?
So that they left.
Yes, the media was there in the morning.
Yeah.
They stayed until noon, and then they had production deadlines. They left for the evening news. So they took the script and they flipped it because they knew the people that were there in the morning were the most prepared, had the most skin in the game, and had a reason to show up early. They knew they did not want those people featured in the media.
Right. And they knew because the media was going to take off, that the media had to use all of the pro conversation because anybody that was against legislation didn't have the opportunity to be
That's right.
part or even on camera.
And they don't even have to allow you to speak. I was actually ejected in the morning for asking a question. There was a pause in the
question.
Here you go. They had gone to the fourth person to testify. I had signed in third. There was a pause in the proceedings. We were in the gallery. I raised my hand, remained silent. The chair recognized me. Yes, you have a question. Yes, ma'am. I've been here since 7 this morning. I was third to sign in, and the fourth person just testified. It appears that the sheets have been mixed up. Eject this person immediately. She pointed her finger at me, pointed to the bailiff, and I was escorted out for asking a question I was called on to ask because it exposed their dirty doings. And little did I know, I had to finagle to get back in that room, literally right out of a John Grisham movie. I had to wait until the break, get someone seated at the table, stop them in the hall, get their support, and get them to get the chair to let me back in. I was there all day, and I testified at 4:40 in the afternoon.
And how is that public discourse?
It's not.
Like,
It's
that's such a blatant version of what do you want to? What's the term I'm thinking of?
Mhm.
Of silencing somebody.
Yes, you can. There's no burden of proof when you testify before legislature. You can literally sign in as Donald Duck, and they will call Donald Duck to testify. So you don't have to be a resident of that state. You don't have to have anything at all. You can just show up and sign in, and they have the discretion to let you speak or not.
So anybody that has this misconception that government is there for free speech and for letting everybody have access to communicating, that's just not even true.
It's not true. And you have to be polite. I saw person after person ejected for calling legislators names, getting too emotional, yelling, that sort of thing. It never works. You have to be professional, and you have to quell your anger when you speak.
But how do you be professional when the legislation itself is challenging your existence as a human being?
I know, but that's the game. That's Robert's Rules of Order.
Yeah.
That's what you have to follow.
How freaking frustrating is that?
It is. It really is. But, there's power in it, too, because I sat there and it took me a moment to get settled. I took a lot of time on purpose, but it was mainly so I could. And then I faced all of them. And when I gained my strength and my fortitude, and I'd said a couple of things that they let slide by, then I knew I could go further. Because one of the things I mentioned was that you need to understand that if you transition fully in the United States of America, you have to pass a barrage of psychological batteries. You have to be certified sane to proceed. And I said, therefore, I am telling you, I am sane, but I am not so sure about the rest of you.
So I want to pause for a second there,
Yeah.
because what you just said was it made me pause.
Yeah.
You have to go through a barrage of tests to prove that you're sane.
Yes.
Before you can get a medical procedure.
Yes.
And what other freaking medical procedure is that even a thing? I would say probably none, right?
Probably none. But you can't even have a blood test to test your own genetics without having counseling beforehand, even though it's you and you want to know. I just recently experienced that.
How is it that medical systems can tell you what to do with your own body?
Well,
Like,
and
that
that's why we're all talking about it in the
Yeah.
country right now.
It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, body autonomy has always been very important to me. And it's important, I think, to a lot of trans people, because the keys for you to be the person you need to be lie in the medical field.
Yeah.
And they have to remain available. I went through transition during the gatekeeper mentality, when services were only offered through teaching universities. And so you had to jump the hurdles, put the round holes and the round pegs and all of that. You took all the tests. I sat in front of rooms full of interns in white coats and answered questions. I was degraded during physical examinations. And when my surgery was done, it was done in an operating theater that was standing room only at the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences in 1985.
How wild is that? Just the idea that you have to go through that much just to be yourself.
Yes, but the tools are there.
Yeah.
And if you pick them up to use them, you better be certain.
Yeah.
And I have had no regrets. I've had a lovely, successful life. You can imagine this personality, me just sitting here, coming out of a male form.
Yeah.
It just didn't work.
Yeah.
And society
It just doesn't fit.
Society responded to me that way. Oh, you're weird. There's something off about you. I transitioned and the world embraced me. And that's no exaggeration.
Because you were able to finally be your authentic self the way you wanted to be.
The spirit matches the container. The soul is in its package that it needs to be. That's all it is for me. I didn't change as a person or as a personality. I didn't let the old person die so the new one could be born. That's not my approach. I've always been me.
Yeah.
I've had obstacles in my life and I took care of them.
Yeah. And I appreciate that so much. So like for my own journey, I didn't realize I was autistic until I was 37. And up until that point, I just thought I was a weird reject and I wasn't successful and I had so many roadblocks. And it wasn't until that moment where I realized I was autistic where my whole world changed.
Yeah.
Because I could actually be my authentic self.
When
I never had to go through the same variety of tests that you went through.
Yeah, it was a lot. You had to do sequential tests where they would just give you a set of picture frames and you would arrange them in a sequence that would make sense to you. Now, these tests are still done. You don't have to go through the clinical aspect. You can go to 2 different psychiatrists and they perform the tests for you. So there still is a gatekeeper. It's not surgery on demand or procedure on demand. The one thing that makes me the craziest is when people think that children go to grade school and have a sex change. It's unbelievable to me. You can't even get an aspirin unless they call home.
Yeah.
It's just stupid. And this preponderance of stupidity and the push in the internet of non-factual information is the hardest thing for me to deal with. It's just constant.
Because it's been taken up by mainstream media, and that's the narrative that you see.
I'm the boogeyman.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
It makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it always confused me about how that part of our society has been structured.
Yeah.
You know, because it takes so much more effort to be mean than it does to just be kind and accepting.
So much energy.
And it's just like, why can't you just accept people for who they are?
I'll tell you something. The thing is, I can go about my daily business, do whatever I need to do. I don't normally have this much makeup on because, I'm presenting and so forth. I just go about my day. I never, ever am confronted. And I'm very thankful for that. But in that, I have in the back of my mind, I know you would be treating me differently if you knew.
Yeah.
I know it just standing here, but you're treating me nice because you don't know. And that is the dichotomy of living every day as a trans person. I went for years never even thinking about it. But the minute you become an activist, it's a game of whack-a-mole. You stick your head up, hey, I'm here to help, whap, right over the head. And go back in your hole.
And I would imagine it comes from the most surprising places too.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
As a trans person, you find that when you transition, you will have people that you would not think in a million years would support you, and they do. And then you think you have people you can count on, and they will drop you like a stone. It's happened in my life. I've heard it from other people. I'm very thankful for the parents that are here that support their kids. I didn't have that. I had alcoholic parents that fought like 2 cats in a bag who I didn't dare confide in.
Yeah.
I kept everything secret from everyone. And when I got out of the house, I decided to live my life.
And what would you say to parents out there that have kids that are going through this right now? Like, how do you, because I want parents to know how important it is just to show up and support their kids.
Yes, it's important to have a dialogue.
Yeah.
The very first thing, talk about it. You don't have to get your hair cut. You don't have to grow your hair out. You don't have to put on a dress or put on pants. Just start talking and get the information and support that you need from the community, because it's a lot of information and it happens all at once. A trans person transitions, but everyone in their life transitions with them, whether they want to or not.
I appreciate that. Because that's a perspective that I didn't really fully think about.
Yeah, it's a lot of effort, and it requires that, because there will be heartbreaking circumstances that happen, because I didn't start out looking like this. So, there's an awkward phase that you go through where people really can't identify you, and they have trouble having just regular discourse with you. I had to learn that wasn't personal. That's them. That's not me. And that's the hardest thing to do. I've always told people, society will tell you if you're passing.
Yeah.
Because the rude shocks end, and then one day you realize, oh, I'm not getting called out anymore. Something must have happened, because you see yourself in the mirror every day, and transition can be very slow. And you don't see the metamorphosis that happens right in front of you. So I've seen a lot of people online take a picture every day, and then put it on a reel. And then you see it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in like you say the transition is kind of slow. Is it like 6 months, a couple of years?
It depends.
Okay.
You know, a lot of people have different physical attributes to overcome. Some are never fixable, like big hands, big feet, being really tall, that sort of thing. It doesn't change, but that doesn't mean you can't help yourself to look better and to transition and to function in society and not be bothered. I know some people will never have that. I know there are some people that are undetectable that would never, ever say a word to anyone, and that's okay. However you present or however you transition, it's literally up to you. And I don't ever encourage people to transition. It was right for me.
Yeah.
If it's right for you, you'll know.
And it's one of those things that you know internally.
You know internally before you begin.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunately the point where a number of people end their lives, because once realization hits, you are literally standing at the mountain you must climb, and you can't go around it, can't go through it.
There's no easy way.
There's no easy way. You have to go straight over it.
Yeah.
And most people decide no. Not most people, some people do. And it's very sad. Most people try, and they might get halfway up that mountain, but they may end up building their house halfway up that mountain. And that's fine for them. For me, I had to get over that mountain, and I did.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that the people on the other side of the mountain will welcome you.
100%.
There's a metaphor for you.
Yeah. And do you think we'll ever get to the point where society in general is just accepting?
No, I really don't. I think we'll get to a place where there will be a general acceptance and an understanding in a way. I just know that there's so much vitriol online at this point. The internet is wonderful and the internet is horrible. And we're all dealing with the fact that it shines a very bright light into every corner of human existence. And there are a lot of people that don't want to see it and don't realize that this is humanity. And if you don't like humanity, what's wrong with you?
Right. Yeah, right. Right.
You want to be a squirrel? You want to be a ferret? You're a human. You know, you got to be a human.
Yeah. And if we start from there, it becomes so much easier to accept people.
Yes. If you start from love and acceptance, then something might surprise you, or you might go, oh, well, that's not for me. But you don't have to hate the person for it.
No. No.
I don't get that.
It's so much work to hate.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much freaking work.
Yeah.
And it's like people dedicate their lives to that sort of hate and vitriol.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how bad is your life? You have to do that. What is your unmet need?
Joy has to be manufactured.
Yeah.
You're the only one who knows the joy that's right for you. Nobody can tell you, be happy, get happy. You've got to do that on your own. You have to find your strengths, find what you love, and hold on to it with both hands, because you're going to need it in life. When I talk to kids, and I do this quite frequently, I go to schools. I went to Vancouver to Thomas Jefferson Middle School. I spoke to their rainbow group. They have lost 5 students to suicide this year.
Oh.
I was brought in to tell them that they could have a happy life. I spoke to most recently an after-school group for high-risk LGBTQIA youth called a KIN after-school program. I did not realize when I went, I spoke 3 days in a row. There were kids from foster care. There were kids that were homeschooled for their own safety. And they were all brilliant, lovely children who had to be protected and who had to know the information I had to share with them. And there were tears, there was hand holding, there were private sessions, there were joy and laughter, and there was realization that in middle school, of all times in your life, that there's someone out there that made it.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's huge. I would have loved to have had that.
Yeah.
There was nothing in the landscape when I was a kid. Nothing at all. And this is why books in libraries are important. Reading a book isn't going to make you gay. It isn't going to make you trans. It is available for the trans kid or the gay kid who needs to have support.
100%.
That's all it is.
And it's also for allies.
Yes.
Right. And I bring that up because I just read a book recently that talked about the health disparities of people in the LGBTQ community.
Yes.
And I thought I knew. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Like just how despicable medicine is if you're not from the gender normative community.
Right.
It's so wild.
Yep.
Like demanding pregnancy tests from lesbian couples. Like, you need a pregnancy test.
How's that going to happen?
Right? But they demand it before you can get a medical procedure. And I'm like, on what planet is that okay?
Yeah.
It makes no sense. So what would you like people, like, I wanted people to have this sort of podcast and this conversation today about why it's so important, whether you're an ally, a member of the community, to support pride events like this.
Oh, well, where else can a group that is maligned by greater society convene if we do not organize? And the only way to create change is to organize. I tried, believe me, it was futile, but I tried privately to influence a veto from the governor without coming out. Impossible. It's impossible. You have to step forward and raise your hand and say, I'm here. Because that's what laws are about. They're about governing people. And if the people aren't there to govern, they'll pass all sorts of preventative laws to prevent trans youth from being athletes and participating in sport. And that's another part of my story. I've been a lifelong figure skater. I am a trans athlete, and my federation supports me.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's all it takes. There's no one in the stands at a figure skating event yelling at me, I don't belong.
And that's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And the other important thing that I want people to understand too is just how important it is to be accepting of people.
Yes.
As they walk through the door. Like I've already said it 4 times today, but like there's not even identical twins have the same story.
Acceptance is love for someone you haven't met.
Yeah.
And when you meet them, then it can become love.
Yeah.
And you can have friendship and have a relationship. But these events, even if it's casual, I know there are shy people here.
Yeah.
There are demonstrative people. And then I'm here in sash and crown. These events are wonderful because it allows small communities to have, even if it's just a picnic on an afternoon on a June day, it allows people in small communities to come together and see each other and go, oh, you work at the shop down the street. I didn't know you were a member of the community. And friendships blossom.
Yeah.
My very first Pride event that I did as Miss Trans Oregon was in Manzanita, little beach town. Very small event, one little tent, 30 people, little parade, 2 blocks up the street. The police escorted us and it was done. But it was fabulous because everybody hugged one another. It was all smiles. All the tourists that were there were clapping and waving. It was wonderful. So it doesn't have to be a big event. It can be a small one too.
And one of the things that I know is unequivocally true. I'll have to fix that later.
Oh, I got it.
One of the things that I find is unequivocally true.
Go ahead.
Is that if you come to a Pride event, or really any event that is thrown by a member of the LGBTQ community, it doesn't matter if you're a part of that community or not, you're going to be welcome and loved there.
Yeah, so you feel safe.
Every single place I've gone to. Yeah.
I tell people often that acceptance is like honey. It sticks to you.
Yeah.
And it's sweet. And I just, one of the things that I mentioned from the stage when I did my little talk this morning was that I'm available to all of you. Feel free to approach me. Just because I'm in sash and crown and look like I might be unapproachable, please come up to me. I'm here for all of you.
And I love that.
Yeah.
I wish we had more time.
That's all right. Thank you for your time.
Would you be welcome? If I can we get in touch, because I would love to have the ability to have a more in-depth conversation.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, let's do